And so I created, and I say I created because I did use AI, don't kill me. I need that basic foundational knowledge of coding before I can use the AI to code, at least trustworthy and know what I'm doing, right? Relying on the AI to generate the code, it's just not the right way to do it. We're going to run into problems eventually. We got it right. But if we're using it to decode data, to parse data, if we're using the vibe coding idea to parse returns, or we're using it to parse any data really, how are we validating that? How are we checking it? And how do we ensure that that code doesn't have a bunch of garbage in it that's going to negatively affect our cases?
Now, like Heather's saying, and in regards to my thoughts on that, I'd be really weary of just vibing into things for things that are important and make assumptions, because when you're the underlying problem is that when you vibe code, you're coding on assumptions. Because if you knew how to code, there would be no assumptions, right? You would just you know what you're doing, right? But you're assuming the system is understanding what you're asking and is providing an output, and that's correct. And you can say, well, I'll verify, like Heather said. Yeah, if it's small data sets, that's great. But if they're really large, are you gonna try to code that? I mean, I'm sorry. Well, you're not gonna code it, but you're gonna try to verify that, validate that. And if you look at that code, if you're gonna look at, depending on what you asked and for how long, at thousands and thousands of lines of code, when you don't even know where to start. So it's a problem with what's the due diligence when we do this, right? Where's our attention to detail? Where's our moral probity when we're trying to have these systems do the work? And some people tell me, well, you're more efficient if somebody that knows how to use the AI also uses the AI. And it's like you're like a big nanny for the AI. And I will contend that in large projects, that's not even really that efficient either. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't use them, but I'm saying you should be really careful. If you don't know how to parse something and you ask the LLM and you're getting some results that look right, they might just look right.
And they may not be right.
Yeah, the look is not enough.
But the problem is definitely regular coders who understand it will see that. Yeah. I won't see that. People who don't know coding at all will not see that, and we run the risk of then presenting data that just is not right.
Well, and again, there's a moral aspect to it, right? Should we be satisfied with just getting that output? No, we have, again, a responsibility to do proper due diligence, attention to detail, and our probity. Is this thing to the specs and the standards that we expect from our field and from the work that you will do as a human? And the base of comparison can be, well, human makes mistakes. That doesn't. I hate that comment, and I get it all the time. Well, LLMs are just as bad as people. Then I don't want things that are as bad as people. I want things that do better. Like the standards should not be the human that messes up, because that's what we need to avoid. We don't need to perpetuate it and then make it bigger at scale. Yeah, we have this solution that's so human, it messes up like humans. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it's good. Right. Okay, treat it as a coworker. Actually, what studies shown, I'm going off. You got me into this AI topic.
Sorry.
What recent studies shown, or study that came out a couple of days ago, and I make a quick mention on my LinkedIn, is that coworkers that get input from other coworkers that's being produced with AI, right? And when they get that product, now it's their problem. Somebody put some prompts, whatever the output was, they pass it over to the next coworker in that that line of work. Mm-hmm. Now it comes to me to do my part, and I know it's AI stuff because it's crap and it's not done well. Well, the people that receive that will think less of the coworker that sent it to them, and that disrupts the cohesiveness and the cooperation that we want within our working groups. That's what the studies show. They will think less of you if you throw some AI slop at them that it look right and you send it out. Right. And that really messes up the workflow, not only of the data that you're working with, but between the human beings, the real people that are supposed to be interacting. You send me this, now I have to redo your work or push it back, but then you get mad. And then, does that make sense? So there's a lot of hidden costs that we need to consider when we implement these solutions. And where does these solutions fit within our workflows? And that's something that we need to really think about before we go all in on them.